commence the session.
स्विच ऑन के लिए बोलूं गर्ल्स को?
नहीं,
ये बाहर ना जाए ना लड़कियां। हाँ, इसीलिए मैंने बोला था कर दो।
a very good morning to all of you. I wholeheartedly welcome you all on behalf of the institution's Innovation Cell 4.0 of MCMDAV College for Women to the webinar on angel investment venture capital funding opportunities for early stage entrepreneurs. We are privileged to have amongst us Mr. Dinesh Dugal, ex-banker, as a resource person. MCMDV College for Women, an institution that has been the portal for quality education right from its inception in 1968 in the memory of Justice Meherchand Mahajan. It is for the value-based instruction strategy offered here that MCM has been re-accredited with an A grade from NAC and has also been ranked as one of the topmost colleges of the region for the last 3 consecutive years by reputed national periodicals like India Today and The Week. MCM is the only college in the region to get the Star Test Status Award from the Government of India, which has helped the college towards giant progressive leaps in the field of science. On behalf of the MCM family, I take this opportunity to welcome our resource person, Mr. Dinesh Dugal, a freelancer dealing with various banks and NBFCs for asset products including home loans, LAP, cash credit limits, term loans, business loans, etc., and also creating study material for banking, training, and coaching. He is an MBA from University Business School, Punjab University, Chandigarh, and BE from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Sir is a seasoned banking professional with 15 years experience in banking, mainly branch and business banking. Sir has in-depth knowledge of retail, rural banking, assets and trade finance. He has a track record of successfully managing and leading teams across products and geographies. Sir has a number of achievements to his credits. To name a few, he has increased the Shimla cluster CASA book by 60% in 2 years. He's interacted with top government officials in almost all districts of Himachal for ICICIs. Yeah, he has also handled corporate social responsibility projects. So he has successfully organized seminar for Panchkula Industries Association and a workshop on cybercrime for Panchkula Police. He has opened the first electronic branch in North India on the Mall Shimla, inaugurated by the Chief Minister and DG of Police of Himachal. Sir has also strengthened the compliance and control functions of both Shimla and Panchkula clusters. The cluster's audit rating improved from 3-star to 4-star, with 6 out of 7 branches getting 5-star ratings. Sir, we are honored by your presence at this webinar.
ग्रुप फोटो के लिए बोल दो पहले।
Now, students, all of you are, before we commence the session and Sir takes over the session, all of you are required to switch on the camera for the group picture.
दोबारा बोल दो कैमरा ऑन करने के लिए।
Yes, students, all of you are required to switch on your camera for a group picture.
करेक्ट प्रोसीड आ ही नहीं रहे बच्चे।
All right. Thank you, everyone. Sir, now you may proceed with the session.
नहीं आया।
Good morning, everyone.
बच्चे ने कैमरा ऑन नहीं किया।
Good morning.
Am I
Sir.
audible to everybody?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, can you please share the PPT I have sent to you?
All right, sir. Sure, I'll do that.
हमें क्यों नहीं सुन रहा? अच्छा, ओके।
Hi students, this will be more of an interactive session than being a one-way communication from me or from the faculty members. The topic is venture capital or angel investing.
मैं दोबारा बोलूँ कैमरे
So
को?
let's start with the first part of the topic. What is a business? I would like you guys to participate in the discussion and
बाद में ले लेंगे।
let me know what you think. What is a business?
रिकॉर्डिंग में
स्क्रीनशॉट्स कम आते हैं
हाँ
पिक्चर्स पे जाओ
ये
डाउनलोड्स में पिक्चर्स तो नहीं लाइब्रेरी पे जाना है यहाँ पे यहाँ पे एक्सप्लोर
Hello everybody.
स्क्रीनशॉट्स सही
Ma'am, you are on mute.
आगे नहीं मूव होगा ये। अच्छा
आगे आगे हाँ जी
ये देखो बच्चे थे ही नहीं।
हाँ जी जी सीन है
Yes, students, hurry up. Sir is asking a simple question. Please go ahead and participate in the discussion.
Anybody who is aware of simple definition, what is a business?
Sir, a business is an economic activity that involves buying and selling of goods and services.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, what do we need to undertake a business?
Capital,
Yeah. What else? We need manpower. We need raw material. We need capital. Right, guys? So, the topic of discussion is the capital part of the business, which we require as the main ingredient to run a business. Now, how do we get the capital for running a business? The capital can be own money, capital can be a borrowed capital, right?
मैसेज कर दूँ ऐसे स्विच ऑन योर कैमरा देखा दी और ले लूँगी फोटोज।
The capital can be public money, which can be in the form of shares from public, which can be government funding, it can be from the NGOs, and so on and so forth. Or it can be private money coming from individuals, from one's own equity, from equity, private equity through crowdfunding, through angel investing, or the topic, the venture capital. Anybody, any questions, please? Any input from anybody? Students, we need to have an interactive session so that you ask questions, give answers, and learn from that. Otherwise, it will be a one-way communication which will not be helpful to you also. I need a feedback from you what I'm asking or what I'm whether I'm getting through to you or not. Okay, so the capital can be from either public money or private money. The topic of discussion is venture capital, which plays a very important and a critical role in the innovation of the ecosystem of a business these days. So, what is a venture capital? Venture capital or angel investing or private equity, VCs are basically offered to commercialize ideas. We have an idea which we want to work on and convert into a business, but we are not able to do it because of need of funds, because of need of other resources. So VCs are not only providing us funds, they are providing us resources like they'll be helping us out in getting us other resources in the form of expertise from various industries, expertise from people around the world, and of course the main part is the capital part. Although it is a very risky proposition, but the potential of very high returns make the investments by VCs very worthwhile. VCs firms reduce the risk of investments by co-investing with other VC firms. Say if I have an investment of 1 rupee, if the business needs 10 rupees, So maybe I look for another investor with an investment capacity of 9 rupees or say 2 rupees or 5 rupees, and a number of investors termed as private equity investors or VCs can come together to fund a business in which all of them have a common interest and all of them see a common high potential. Thereby, they will be reducing the risk of the investments they are doing by co-investing, as well as be able to reap in the benefits of high returns from the commercialization of the ideas which they are looking into. In this case, the main investing firm which leads from the front for the conceptualization and conversion of the idea into a proper business is the lead investor, and the other are the followers. For startups these days, it is becoming very, very important as part of their growth process. We come across many examples these days, and we hear a lot that so and so company has come up as a startup and has succeeded in increasing its business. Now, private equity as part of the venture capital is a type of funding which is having a capital that is not listed on a public exchange. Investors and funds in form of private equity directly invest in private companies. They can be classified into crowdfunding. You must have heard the word these days, crowdfunding or venture capital or angel investing. So what is it? What is crowdfunding? What is venture capital or what is angel investing? Can anybody answer me on this? What is crowdfunding? What is venture capital? I believe all of you are commerce students and MCM is known for very bright students. Like somebody of you to please answer the questions.
मैं क्या बोलूँ? अच्छा अच्छा, मुझे पता ही नहीं कि वो मेरे को सुन नहीं रहा ना। मैं लिख दिया ग्रुप पे पार्टिसिपेट गर्ल्स, मैसेज कर दूँ साइड में स्क्रीन पे। मैं सुनूंगी उन्हें, मेरे पास वो तो है नहीं माइक शाइक।
Hello, are we there?
बता भाई जपनीत।
Yes, students, hurry up, answer, participate in the discussion.
Ma'am, can you pick up somebody from the students to answer a couple of questions?
All right, sir, I may try that. Mehak, would you like to give it a try?
I believe they are on the system itself and not just put it on mute and doing their own work.
Okay, yes, Mehak has raised her hand. Okay, Mehak, please go ahead.
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, what do you understand by crowdfunding or private equity or venture capital or angel investing?
So, private equity would be the capital that is with the business firms, like the owner of the firm.
Okay. What else? Okay, good. So basically, private equity is the type of funding, the funding which is the capital which the owners get either from their own resources, their own personal funds, or from other players, which will include crowdfunding or will include venture capital or angel investing. So it can be broadly classified into either as a crowdfunding part or a venture capital part. Crowdfunding is what? It's a type of funding which a business requires where small amounts are contributed by a large number of individuals. I believe most of you have heard of the term kitty. We guys are having kitties at our homes. Our mothers, our sisters, they have kitties in which they go for a kitty lunch or whatever. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in that case, what happens is every lady contributes a small amount, say 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees per month. They get together, have a lunch, and then one of them takes the money with them, right? So in case of crowdfunding, what happens is a large number of individuals, they come together, put in some funds. Now in this case, it's not necessary that it's the same amount. One may put a million, one may put a couple of millions, depending upon one's capacity and one's ability to take risk, and one's own classification that whether the funding which they're going to give to the business is worthwhile or not. So it is basically a crowd which is funding a business. In a similar fashion, the kitty works. Whereas when we come to venture capital or to angel investing, it is mainly an investment by a high net worth individual in a startup at the initial stage of the startup. It might be two individuals, four individuals, more than one individual, between friends and family. It might be only just one firm, the firm being termed as an individual, which is looking into the business viability. They pool monies. A mutual fund can be one of them, or a investment bank can be one of them. These guys are wealthy investors, have funds at their disposal, and they come together to fund a business which they feel, which they are able to conceptualize as a business which will be a successful business in the longer run. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, defined a venture capital fund as a fund established in the form of a company or a trust which raises money through loans or through donations, through issue of securities, and makes or proposes to make these investments in accordance with the regulations for a mutually proposed business which is beneficial to the investor as well as the operator or the executor of the investments. So the venture capital industry plays a very, very important role in the industry these days. The cost of funds which we go for when we start in a business or the availability of funds when we have an idea with us was a no-go for us till a few years back. The emergence of venture capitals has been very critical, very important for the growth of industry world over. It started in the US, but slowly and slowly it's coming up throughout the world, and India is not lagging behind. The investors, which when they pool their money and have faith in a particular idea, see promising returns from the idea, they invest in that venture capital, through that venture capital in that business, and seek returns from that. The investment by a venture capitalist or a investor is basically into various stages. The initial stage, which is the seed stage, as in when we sow a plant, we first sow the seed. That is the seed stage of an investment, wherein the investor, the venture capitalist will start the initial stages of the business, put in the initial money, and then let the business grow. Then we have the startup stage, the first stage, the expansion stage, the bid stage, various stages. I'm coming to that. The startup stage is when the business has started growing a bit. The investor has started getting more faith into the business. The investor sees that the potential is upcoming, and yes, he looks into it that he is able to source good quality business and able to see its execution. Then the first stage, initial stage, is the starting of the business, and in fact, the launching part of the business is the first stage, which is later on as the business grows, the funding keeps on coming in, as well as the support system from the venture capitalist, as well as from the other participants also start coming in. Then the business stabilizes and the venture capitalist just has a backseat and looks at the growth of the business. Then, in case the funds are needed by the business and the venture capitalist sees that yes, the funds are worthwhile to put in more worthwhile to put in, they come to the bid stage and then the expansion stage. These are the basic initial parameters for a venture capitalist. The venture capitalist can offer the funding, the initial money to a startup or to a company, either through a venture capital firm, I'll name a few in the coming time, or investment banks, or financial institutions, or even a group of high net worth individuals. Any questions? Any queries? Kindly go ahead.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, so the venture capitalists, they fund for only startups, or do they also fund for other businesses that are already established?
So primarily, a venture capitalist is funding for a startup only. They do enter into businesses which are already running, but then in that case, they are not called venture capitalists. They're simply investors. By venture capitalist, the term itself states the investor who is venturing into a particular business. By venturing, we mean that somebody who is starting into a new business. When we venture into something, we start a new journey. So that is why primarily venture capitalists focus on startups. Anybody else? I think Mac is the only one who is interacting here and listening to the stories.
So probably she's one of the most bright students, so maybe because of that. Indeed, we have many other bright students, but yes,
I
she
would
is
like
definitely one
others to
amongst them.
also participate and see into this thing that they are able to counter me and ask me questions.
Yes, sir. Surely they will, sir. Usually we have a question answer round after the
Right,
session is over.
right,
Yes.
right. Okay. So, what is the process of a venture capital? The venture capital VC comes to help by providing necessary funds at different stages. The value chain which a venture capitalist is putting in part of a business is deeply integrated and relies on human relationship, pattern recognition, and judgment of all the participants. The process can be divided into various stages. The first and foremost is coming up with an idea. If I have an idea, I think that idea will work. I think the idea is something which can earn money for me, can earn money for the investor. Then I will have to look into that idea on a serious note. We have many startups in and around us which have come up and grown. Zomato, Swiggy, nobody thought of these things earlier. Ola, Uber. In an everyday life, we come across many of these ideas which we never thought will become into a successful business. Then next step is to conceptualize that idea and create a business model. This is where the basic foundation of the business is laid. Having an idea and just thinking about it, dreaming big about the idea is not the only thing. You have to properly conceptualize that idea, put it on paper, on the board, at how a business model will work. What will be the resources? How will be able to generate revenues? What will be the product? Who is the competition? Where is the niche market? All the typical factors of a business model. And then the analysis of the business model is done with the products, the market, the competition, the history, the management, the funding part, everything is considered and the blueprint is converted into a proper technical thing so that the business is set up. Then comes the part of revenue generation. Now, every business is there for the purpose of generating revenue. There are very few charities which are doing it without a focus on revenue generation. Even today, the NGOs or the charities, they have a focus to generate some revenue so that they are able to meet their expenses. Now, normally a business is basically to generate is an economic activity, as rightly said by Matt, to generate a revenue. Now, after the business has been conceptualized and the blueprint ready, the projections of the revenue, the scalability of the business, that how the business will expand, which markets will it go into, how will it handle the competition, is properly set up and looked into. Then the most important part is from where to get the money. My investment in a business is say $100 million, but I am having only $10 million. So where to get it? Gap of $90 million. That is where the fundraising part comes in. Now here the venture capitalists or the angel investors comes in. The sourcing part on the behalf of the
Attendance come, feedback.
business promoters start. The business promoter might hire a venture capital fund, hire an investment banker, or directly go into looking in with the various players in the market to get a quality deal so that the funds are available as and when required by them to start, to expand, to bridge, to grow their business. Once they have finalized that what are the options available to them for getting the funding, the next step is choosing the right venture capitalist to fund up their business, and for the venture capitalist it is the other way around, to choose the right startup. A venture capitalist might not be able to look into the business the way a business promoter or a startup is looking at, but it is for the venture capitalist to put in the right money at the right place, and for the promoter to look at the right venture capitalist so that the both are having a common wavelength. And then comes the part of negotiating the terms and conditions of the business. Now the venture capitalist has to look into all the aspects of running the business, including the history of the promoters, and whether the promoters are able to manage businesses in past or not, or whether they are new promoters, how's the idea and all those things. And then the negotiating of the terms start with the promoters. The due diligence of the promoters is carried out, and the last stage is putting in the money into the business, the funding part. Keep on pumping in money as and when required, giving them operational advices, helping them negotiate better deals with probably vendors, helping them in reaching out to other markets. Overall business growth is all part of the VC's support system to the business. And after that, what will the VC get? The venture capitalist has to earn money, of course. So how do the VC get the money? It has to. It can't be in the that business forever. It has to exit that business, and by exiting the business means that it has to, at one point of time, look for an option so that it is moving out of the business and getting its returns also. At times during the business it sees that the business is not running as successful as was proposed, as what foreseen, and it might have to, the VC might have to leave in between, losing their stake or losing their monies, which happens quite often. Now the VC has to see that since it is a very high return and high risk business, when to enter
एक्चुअली में
sorry,
कितने टाइम लगता है
and when to move out of the business.
25 years.
कि मैं तो कई बार सोचती हूँ एक्टिवा चला चलती कमर भी दुखने लग जाती
Normally, a venture capitalist takes 3 to 5 years
जितने ट्रैफिक
है
होता है
लाइट्स
कितने
में
of
कितनी गर्मी
time to exit out of
लाइट्स
the business,
70 वाली
and the ways how to exit
वो नहीं है होमलैंड
can be varying from taking a stake in the business,
फिर तो पूरा कवर कवर करके
taking some
चलती है ना
share capital, shares from the business,
उतनी लगती आती है
or be part of the management.
एडमिट कर दो
So I just like to understand from you guys that
मेरे को
what do
खाली
you think
पूछना
a
था
venture
लास्ट में मैं
capitalist
आपका फोन पे
can gain once it wants to exit a business. I, as a venture capitalist, have, or you as a venture capitalist, have invested in the business. You see it as a growing business today. Tomorrow it might or might not be growing, may or might not be growing, and you want to exit it. You are in need of funds. So, what are the options you have when you exit a business? Anybody, please?
Yes, girls, please participate, interact with the sir.
Venture capitalist, as a venture capitalist, you will not like to be invested in a business forever because your main core strength is providing funds and investing, getting returns for your own investors. A venture capitalist has its own company where it has to report to, where it has to answer to.
पंचकूला ही आ जाता
So
है
you can't be invested in a particular business for a long time.
हाँ
At the end of the day, you have to take out your money or give a return to your own company. So, what are the options? I've just enumerated a couple of them to you. I would like to hear from you. What are the options which are possible for a venture capitalist, for an investor in you, when you see that a business is growing or not growing? What will happen in that case? What will you be your plan of action after that?
7 स्लाइड
Can only a couple of other people participate and answer? We'll of course have a session after this, but answer something about the question I'm asking. What are the options an investor, a venture capitalist, a person as you have once you're invested in a business when you want to move out? What do you think you can get out of it?
Yes, students, anyone?
Sir, after getting the part of the share or the part that we were promised we would get, after we get that, we can exit.
Right. Suppose you are a family and you are, say, five brothers and sisters, and you put in some money and start up a small business. अब हम लोग दिवाली पे वो दशहरा में रावण बनाते हैं, तो आप कहते हो मैं अपने पैसे आई विल चिप इन दिस मच अमाउंट फॉर द क्रैकर्स एंड ऑल, right? But you see after some time that the Ravan Putla being made is not up to the mark. कहता है, I won't put in more than this much amount of money. I want to get out, right? Similarly, when you put in, I just give you an example. Put in some business, you want to get out at some stage. So, what is it that you look at when you get out? Okay, once you are invested in a business, you look at the growth trajectory of the business, whether the projections made in the start of the business are in line with what is happening now, whether you are able to get the returns or not. In midway, you have an option to exit the business if you want to. Once the business has started and you see it is a failure, you exit, of course, putting in your losses. But if you see the business has been a potentially successful business, as what you see, you have an option either to be part of the management, you the venture capital, venture capital firm will incorporate a couple of members from there, depending upon the mutual understanding in the board of the business, or they may exit with some shares of the business, which they can later on in cash when the IPO comes or the business is further operational and is able to earn monies, or they might just stay invested and look for another exit option later on. So depending upon the performance, the sector, and everything, the normal exit time for a business is for venture capital is 3 to 5 years after the business started. It can also be in the form of a mix of both profits and a stake in the business. Say after 3 years, I see that the business is growing, I take out some of my profits and keep certain stake in the business, and then keep on funding as and when required, so that my stake gets up if I see a high potential in the business. It can be customized as per the negotiations between both the parties, whether to have the business, the VC state invested in it or not. So the main advantage of VC is to give a higher return to the venture capitalist, of course with a higher risk, and simultaneously assist the startup with the need as and when it arises. Just advantages and disadvantages of a venture capitalist. It helps a business gain expertise. It helps a business to grow. It helps a business to start a venture with appropriate amount of funding. The business, whenever it starts, if a business starts with a loan from bank, it has to repay the loan after some time in case of moratorium or immediately. In this case, the business owners does not have to repay immediately. The repayment part place after a long time, or even at times the business is a failure. It is not taking place at all. It helps in making valuable connections in the industry across the globe, which will automatically get to increase in the market, increase in the reachability, better advice, better experiences, which ultimately helps in raising the capital in the longer run. And of course, it helps in upgrading the technology from time to time from various resources as and when the business grows. Now, what is the disadvantage of a business through venture capital? It reduces the time stake, ownership stake of the business over a period of time. Because I have an idea and I know this idea is going to work, because nobody thinks the idea is not going to work. I would like to capitalize on the idea because it's my original idea. But since I don't have money, I have to reduce my own stake in capitalizing the idea. This is the disadvantage as far as the investor or the uh, business person is concerned. Moreover, due to the different substitution features, there can be a rise in conflict of interest between the venture capital and the business owner. The approvals for from a venture capitalist takes time, which can affect the implementation of the idea and can have the effects on the uh, idea's implementation. At times, what happens is that you have an idea which can go good, but because of the delay from the venture capitalist, you're not able to implement it in time, and in the shorter run, you lose on the idea and somebody else capitalize on it. Why is the VC space so active these days? Why do we hear so much about venture capitalists everywhere? Every media, every business article, every business magazine is talking about venture capitalists. Why is that so? Can anybody put in a couple of points on this thing? Why is it happening that we are listening about venture capitalists another Zomato, another Swiggy, another Ola coming up. Okay, we think the increased activity in the VC space is mainly because of Mota 4 reasons. One is the digital payments and the infra development in the digitization sector of the country. Over a period of time, the country has developed more of a digital model where digital payments are very common, are in fact a part of everyday life. I'm sure most of you are choosing the digital payment methods of Phone Pay, Google Pay, Paytm, blah blah blah. And the infrastructure has been developed to such an extent that it's helping grow this digital payment stream. Then we have the increase in the internet reach and affordability. With the increase in speeds, the increase in availability of fiber across areas, the increase in access to internet even in the remote part of the country, the affordability of these things have definitely helped in increasing the activity in the startup of the VC stage. Then there is one the most important part today is the awareness created by the social media and the other medias. The coming up of various social media platforms, the activity on these platforms, the coming up of so many media options, these are helping a lot in the increased activity
क्या मैम?
in the VC space. Then is the pricing and availability of data. The availability of data in terms of the individual's name, address, phone numbers, email IDs has become very easy and at a very low price these days, which definitely helps in increasing reach for the potential investors, for the people to increase the business and the growth of business.
पहले 400 था फिर 6 को था फिर 8 ये 9 हो गया फिर ये 3 होने लग गया ऐसे ही बैठता
Now, when we come to some main factors, what do you think is the success rate in a for venture capitals? Out of 100, how many venture capitalists do you think succeed? Now, this is a very open question. You can have a wild guess. How many people how many venture capitalists do you think succeed in their return risk मॉडल? मैंने आज 1 लाख रुपया लगाया, कितनी पॉसिबिलिटी है कि मुझे वो 1 लाख रुपया वापस मिलेगा? कितने लोगों ने आउट ऑफ say a crore of people, how many people have been able to reap in the benefit? What is your take and call on this? क्या लगता है आप लोगों को कि how many people are able to turn their business model into a successful one?
Students, you just have to make a guess. That's it.
Any figure? 5% success rate है, 10% है.
Sir, around 40% maybe.
Okay. Anybody else?
So 30 to 40%.
42?
40 to 40%.
Okay. Anybody else? I am seeing around 40 people, 40 students on the call, but only 2 have answered till now. The making a wild guess won't cost you anything, guys.
You can just write in the chat box. Yes, okay, 50%, Vachika, all right. Okay. Some more guesses, wild ones. कि 30 to 40, 50.
Okay, okay, let me come to that. 99% of the venture capital businesses fail. Only 1%, one out of 100, are able to succeed. We come across names which are successful. हमें पता है कि पेटीएम चल पड़ा, जोमेटो चल पड़ा, स्विगी चल पड़ा, ग्रोफर चल पड़ा, बिग बास्केट चल पड़ा. But we don't know about the ones who have failed because we never heard of them. So एक जो चलता है उसके पीछे 99 फेल होते हैं. 99 businesses fail after one succeeds or against one succeeds. The failure rate is 99%. But the return which a business succeeds is far greater than the failure rate. I'll come to that. What are the industries which are seeing hyperactivity in the VC space? Now again, ma'am, I think we can start the Q&A and the interactions right now because this is an ongoing part and I've almost ended the theoretical part of the lecture.
Sure, sir, sure.
So any questions about the previous slides we have gone through or what we have talked about till now so that we can start an interactive session about the practical part of the venture capitalists as well as the success stories, the industries and other things. Any questions please?
Yes, students, anyone, any
Excuse
question?
me, sir.
Yeah.
So where do these venture capitalists get their funding from? Like, do they earn
Good, good,
themselves from
good.
somewhere?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Now, as I discussed earlier, a venture capitalist can be mainly broadly classified into three types. One is a venture capital fund. A fund is somebody who gets in a pool of money by a small investors. Just like a mutual fund is there. Similarly, I hope you guys understand what a mutual fund is. Small investors contribute to a bigger pool of money, but in a very structured way. It is like your kitty, but in a very structured and official way, properly written down, regulated by the authorities, regulated by SEBI, that these are the guidelines on which the entity has to run, has to follow. It has to have a proper license. This is what a fund is. Then the other option is the investment bank.
क्या कह रहे हो
Of course, everybody knows what a bank is. So investment bank is wherein the bank part has a specific arm which invests in various businesses. So this can be an existing business or a new business. When it comes to a new business, it is the venture capital part. Or it can be individual investors, high net worth investors who come together to fund a business. These are three primarily main ways of funding a startup or being a venture capital. I hope I am clear or somewhat clear on this thing.
Yes, sir, quite clear.
Mehak, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions, please?
मेरे को सुनना नहीं था संदीप मेरे को सुनने दे
Okay. What are the industries we think
अच्छी है
that venture capital is looking at in the past, say, 7 years, 8 years, or now?
So in the current times, it would possibly be the digital markets or the things that are digitally online because everything has gone online.
Okay. Good. What other industries? Guys, you need to participate here. Okay. When you see around yourself or you do your daily routine course in life, what are the industries, what are the various apps you use to be part of the daily life? Now, this is a very, very simple and easy question, and most of you are having mobiles. Am I right? Most of you are using mobiles.
Yes, students.
You can write down your uh, answers in the chat box. Okay, most of you are having apps on your mobiles. And
Yes,
can
sir.
you ask randomly a few people that what are the apps they're using on a daily basis? Name any five apps.
All right, students, you may write in the chat box the apps which you use most frequently. Hurry up quickly.
Okay, okay. Most of us use Paytm, Phone Pay.
So,
So this is one industry. This is financial industry. Fintech is what is the keyword these days. Fintech, financial technology. Most of us use Zomato, Swiggy, the food industry. We use grocery items. We order grocery items through Big Basket, Grofers. One more industry is the we order online clothes, fashion products.
Sir, we also
Yeah,
sir, we
please.
also use Uber and
Yeah,
other
right.
services for
Good, good.
traveling.
Very good, very good. So, Uber, Ola is one, food is another, clothing is one, financial industry, fintech is another. Anybody else with any other idea? Any other app they're using on a regular basis? Just pick up your phone and look into those apps, yeah? You can easily answer this question. So basically, the broader view is that on a day-to-day life, we are using these as our support systems to run our daily course. Now, I'll just quickly go through a few of the success
आवाज़
stories.
कम करना माइक की थोड़ी वहाँ से वॉल्यूम
You might have heard of Paytm. Now, if you're aware, Paytm recently came with a IPO of with issue price of 2150 rupees 2150. Similarly, Zomato and Nika also came up with their issues with their IPOs. Now, what do the venture capitalists get out of these? A venture capitalist called SAIF invested in Paytm at a price of 15 rupees 40 paisa and has got a return of 140 times. This is the kind of success the venture capital SAIF had in that. Another company called Physics Wala, which raised 100 million recently,
कैमरा ऑन करना अपना
is into education, which one field like Byju's, Udemy, all those. Physics Wala has been given lectures through WhatsApp, through YouTube. They were able to raise funds. So once the investor exits, you can imagine what kind of a return the investor will get. There are many other educational or other industry startups which have earned a lot. Snapchat, Instagram, all were startups which have been taken over by other firms through venture capitalists. Now there are many which have failed also, which most of us won't have even heard of. There was Doodwala.com, which started somewhere in South to supply milk to the households. Didn't take up well. Then there was Local Bania, a local version of a grocery store gone online. Didn't succeed. iProf was one more. It was into teaching, education. It again was unable to make to the cut. Loan Mart, Fashion Era, Easy Truck, stays on the uh, lines of OYO, you're not able to succeed. These were the basic failures. Now, how do we get to learn about the venture capitalists? We can have these days we have courses in VCs, courses online through Vidya Mandir, through Coursera. We have universities giving us degrees and diplomas. We have various universities which have special programs, which have guest lectures on VCs, and we keep on learning from these. One small last discussion with you, but I would like you guys to have be interactive in that. If you're okay with that, ma'am, kindly advise.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Most of you are having TVs at your home. In fact, not most, all of you, and you watch TVs. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Anybody else apart from Mehak who watches TV or everybody else is not doing so?
Yes, sir.
Good. बस मैम दो ही बच्चों के पास टीवी है आपकी क्लास में.
So shall we assume that none other than Sunaina and Mehak watch TV? Yes.
Okay, do you guys watch reality shows? There's a reality show called Shark Tank. Has anybody heard of that?
Yes, sir.
What is that? Good.
किसने बोला था?
Yeah, in that, the entrepreneurs came who already started their business but were not that successful. So they came for the funding and also to promote their business.
Right. Very good. So at least you are learning from watching TV also. On the similar lines, various institutions have started having a Shark Tank type of programs in the colleges and universities. There's a recent inter-university competition in the Tri-City only, where colleges and students competed with their ideas, and there were a panel of investors
11 बजे
who
निकाल होगे.
heard their ideas, looked into their prospects, and invested in them. They gave prizes. One team from a local college got a prize of 10 lakh rupees just for starting the idea. Another team got a funding, not in terms of money, but they were told and promised that once they start the business, they will be the investor will be pumping in money as and when required. So this is what is coming of age in a small city like Chandigarh or the Tri-City part is coming up with these ideas of having a Shark Tank like or a, or promoting the venture capital part. So it was the thing, but now what is understood in the industry world over is that next stop for venture capital funding, which was the initial reason why the Silicon Valley grew in 90s or early 2000s, was the venture capital is going to be the Indian center stage. The Indian market will be the next major boosting area, major playing area for the venture capitalists. We have whatever we have seen till now is just the tip of the iceberg. In the coming time, it is expected that the Indian market will be seeing a boom of venture capitalists coming into and helping their startups to grow their business. Any questions? Any things, ma'am? You can just share my email ID if anybody wants to know anything. I'll be happy to
Sure, sir.
answer those.
Sure, sir. Sure, I'll do that. Or I can circulate the email ID across the various classes also which are being taught.
Right, ma'am, no issues at all.
Yes, sir.
Just write in the subject VC query. That's it, or something related to VC.
So students, if you seek any inputs with regards to any clarification or any startup that you have in your mind or anything theoretical, practical, whatever. So the email ID will be shared. You just need to drop an email to sir, and in the subjects you just write venture capital, and maybe you can write the class so that he can acknowledge it that yes, it is a query from a student.
ठीक है, कर दो वाइंड अप.
So, shall we? So, yes, students, are we done with the queries? Do you have any queries as of now? Do you have any queries? Any questions you would like to ask, sir? All right.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, do the venture capitalists have any backup, or do they just invest in startups only, like the invest the whole money or some part of the capital they have with themselves?
Oh, okay. Like as I told earlier also, a venture capital has got funds at its disposal. A venture capital fund or investment bank has funds at its disposal which it can use when as and when required. And the pool of monies they have is huge. So only a part of that is what they invest in the business. Because if they invest the whole amount, then the investor into that venture capital will again suffer. So the venture capital will invest a part of their fund into a business, and they have a backup plan for coming times. There are many well-known venture capital firms world over: SoftBank, Sequoia Capital, Tiger, Blackstone, Yellow Bridge. All these have ample funds to fund multiple startups, and to enter a startup and then exit is what they are looking at, either at a high return or at a low return. Basically, they have a backing for funding in future as well as for continuing that funding. Hope I'm clear, Mahak.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
चलो, मनप्रीत.
Anybody else?
Uh, okay. Yes, students. So we are assuming that you've asked all the questions that you had. The major ones coming from Mehak, of course. All right. So on that note, I would like to thank Sir. Thank you, Sir, for such a wonderful and interactive session. And I would rather say you've left no stone unturned to ensure that all the students participate in the discussion by your quirky questions. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Manpreet to extend a formal vote of thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Japneet. Thank you, sir, for your valuable address. I'm sure our students have greatly benefited from today's session. The insights on venture capital provided by Sir will definitely be instrumental in inculcating research and innovation in our students. Sir has explained beautifully that how venture capital industry plays a critical role in the innovation ecosystem. He has shared his profound knowledge with all of us regarding how venture capitalists provides initially a very strong support system to startups and how venture capital comes to help by providing necessary funds at different stages of a startup venture. So, on behalf of Institutions Innovation Cell 4.0 and Meherchand Mahajan DAV College for Women, I, Dr. Manpreet Kaur, extend a formal vote of thanks to our worthy speaker, Mr. Dinesh Dugal, for today's session. It was a pleasure, sir, to have you with us today. I also take this opportunity to thank our principal, ma'am, Dr. Nisha Bhargava, and Vice President of Institutions Innovation Cell 4.0, Dr. Indu Arora, ma'am, for providing their consistent guidance and support. I also extend special thanks to my co-coordinators, Dr. Nidhi Tawar, Dr. Japneet Kaur, and Ms. Sandeep for making this webinar successful. And at last, thanks to our dear students for being great participants and active learners. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you,
And
Manpreet. And thank you, Dinesh sir, for such a wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, students, you may leave the session now.